Yo, what's going on, man? Today is March the 22nd, 2024. It's your boy Chris, and this is the ChrisBeCappinn NBA show where we are live on Twitter. We're also live on YouTube as well. Top of the morning to everybody that's in the chat. Appreciate you guys for tapping in as always. Where do we start? So let's just go. I guess we'll jump straight into it for today. I think it's like 7 games on the board. I had a chance to deep dive into about 3 or 4 of them. I still got a couple that I need to just do some due diligence on, and wait for the injury report on a couple guys as well. So we'll jump right into it. Yesterday, first losing day that we've had of the week. Pelicans on the money line, and Washington team total under. Washington started strong, but their offense isn't great, like we talked about. So their team total does go under, even though they win the game. And then New Orleans just got smoked, specifically from the 3-point line. Orlando looked really, really good last night. Pelicans could potentially been looking ahead to that game that they have today against the Miami Heat. We'll talk about it. That does drop us back to about 37.5 units, about 37.5 units on the season if you've been tailing all the plays. But, it is what it is. Let's jump right into it for today. Not a lot of strong plays that I like, if I'm being honest with you guys. I actually haven't placed a bet yet, but it's a couple that I really, really like that I'll probably get to the window on, even if I play them small, just to get some action out there. Not anything too heavy. So first game up, we got the Oklahoma City Thunder. They'll be on the road in Toronto, laying 15 points. It's crazy. Laying 15 points is crazy to lay on the road. But we've seen this Toronto team just really, really struggle, specifically as of late, right? I talked about this the other day. We've cashed on their team total under in back-to-back games. And OKC, clean injury report, 1 day's rest here. They do have a look-ahead spot with the Bucks on deck on Sunday. Then they play the Pelicans as well. This team has not been covering spreads either. 7-3 straight up, just 2-8 against the number in their last 10, 0-4 against the spread in their last 4. And we were on them first half in that last game. It was actually the only loss that we had on Wednesday night. So not the greatest spot for, not the greatest effort you're getting from this Oklahoma City Thunder. Taking a deep dive, it really just looks like the defense is kind of falling off, which is why I'm a little hesitant to pull the trigger on this Raptors team total today. So Toronto on the other side, I mean, they'll still be super injured. No Chris Boucher, quickly still out. RJ Barrett's still out. Jakob Poeltl, Scotty Barnes, all of those guys are out. Jonte Porter is listed as probable for this game. He did get injured in that last game, but he did come back. So Toronto, 1 day's rest, second straight home game. This is the first leg of a back-to-back for them. They play in DC tomorrow. Just 1-9 straight up, 2-8 against the spread in their last 10, and 0-4 against the spread in their last 4 as well. So we got 2 teams that's 0-4 against the spread in their last 4. Something got to come to an end tonight. Head-to-head, OKC did beat this team earlier in February. They won that game in overtime. I think it was an overtime game where Toronto really gave them all they could really handle. That game went over to 237. You see this total open up at 228, and it is getting pushed up to 230.5 now. It's interesting because OKC's offense hasn't been that great. And granted, Toronto's defense has been bad, but Toronto actually hasn't been able to score the ball. So I can't agree with the total going up. I think if anything, you just look back towards the under again. Couple more trends I want to get to. OKC, looking at them laying 8 points or more as a favorite on the road, just 1-5 against the spread. They are 5-1 to the over, so that bodes well for the over here. But Toronto as a home dog, 5-12 against the spread, including 0-5 straight up and against the spread in their last 5, 1-8 against the spread as a home dog in their last 9 games. So I'm not laying 15, 2 touchdowns and an extra 2 touchdowns and a 2-point conversion and an extra point. I can't quite get there. Like I said, Toronto team total under would be the play in this game. It's 107.5. They failed to get to this 108 number in 4 straight games. They failed to crack 100 in back-to-back games as well. OK's defense has been bad lately. I mentioned it a little earlier. 27th in opponent effective field goal percentage the last 2 weeks. But they were playing against. They are in this game probably playing against maybe the worst offense that we've seen in the league. Toronto's bottom 10 or bottom 5 in all the important offensive metric categories like point score per 100 possessions, effective field goal percentage, free throw rate, turnover discrepancy, all those numbers that I look into, they're bottom 5. And one thing OKC hasn't been doing is fouling. In Toronto, they're not drawing a lot of fouls either. So That bodes well for, this team total under. They just shoot. If you look at what Toronto's been doing like last 2 weeks, they're shooting a bunch of shots in the paint and they're not really making them. Toronto's OKC's defense has actually been good against the paint as well, protecting the paint. So Toronto team total under 107.5, staying away from that big number. 15 is a tad bit too rich for my blood, even though the Sacramento Kings did just come in here and smoke them. Let's keep it pushing on to the next game. We have the Boston Celtics and the Detroit Pistons. Not a game that, you probably, if you're putting, if you're playing the game, you probably want to wait on the injury news. Let's put it like that. So Boston comes in with Sam Hauser. Looks like he's listed as probable. He missed that game against Milwaukee the other day. Al Horford also listed. So Al Horford, Jaylen Brown, Porzingis, and Tatum all listed as questionable, which is why that makes this game unplayable at the moment. You still see Boston land almost 2 touchdowns on the road as a favorite here, and it's because Detroit has been really, really bad. Also, failed to mention Drew Holiday is already out in this game, and I'm pretty sure they're probably going to rest some of these guys because it's not the greatest spot for Boston. And they are coming off 1 day's rest. They've been traveling, all over the place. They had a home game, and then they're back on the road again. So 1 day's rest, but this is a 4th game in 6 nights. Boston, on the first leg of a back-to-back, they play in Chicago tomorrow. That'll be a 5th game in 7 nights, which is one of the worst spots you can be in. They'll play the Chicago Bulls in the 5th game in 7 nights tomorrow. So potential look ahead, I don't know. I don't think so, honestly. Boston's like head and shoulders the best team in the Eastern Conference by far. They also 8-2 straight up, 7-3 against the spread in their last 10, 5-5 straight up and against the spread, playing playing their 4th game in 6 nights. On the road specifically, they have won and covered their last 3 in this spot as playing their 4th game in 6 nights on the road. And they also 4-0 to the under in this spot as well in their last 4 road games, playing on the 4th game in 6 nights. I did look into that as well. On the Detroit side, this offense has really, really struggled, and I think it's going to continue to struggle. No Quentin Grimes. Taj Gibson has already been ruled out. No Fontecchio. Isaiah Stewart's done for the season. Sir Thompson's also done for the season with the blood clot. I hope everything goes well for him, in his recovery. But that makes this Detroit offense pretty much, Cade Cunningham and Isaiah Stewart. Like, they don't have a lot of guys that's going to be able to score the ball, and that's why you see the total that's, so low. And it's getting lower. It's down to 222.5. I may just end up pulling the trigger on this under here, specifically a Detroit team total under. I know that they're at home. We just cashed it with the Indiana Pacers first half. Probably should have took them a full game. But Detroit only scored 103 points. They lost that game by 19 points just 1 day ago. So now 2nd straight home game, 1 day of rest. They're 3-7 straight up, 5-5 against the spread in their last 10. Boston has dominated the head-to-head series, of course, 9-1 straight up, 5-5 against the spread in their last 10. Detroit, 7-3 to the under in their last 10, including 6 straight unders. They've actually been held under their team total in 5 straight games. So this is something that when I was handicapping, I didn't write this down, but Detroit team total under. I'm pretty sure the number is going to be low. It's probably going to be, they're going to put it super low to kind of scare you off of it. But 105.5, it looks like, is available right now on bet on ESPN bet. So 105.5 for Detroit team total. I do think that they really, really struggle to score the ball today. If you can't score 105 points against the Pacers that play at a faster pace than this Boston team, it's really going to be difficult to score against Boston. So Boston first half continues to be a wagon. Couldn't talk anybody off that. We cashed on it on if you listen to the evening show, we cashed on that the other day as well against the Milwaukee Bucks. So for whatever reason, Boston plays well early in the game. Pushing along, now we got the Pelicans, 2nd leg of a back-to-back, of course, in Miami. Looks like they're getting 3.5 points, total 205.5. And this total is 207 if people want to get in on an under. I think I saw the 207 on Bet365 if it's available to you there. So this is a game I think I'm going to wait on, but let's jump into it. So we got a Pelicans team. Anybody who watched the game last night saw Brandon Ingram go down. It looks like Coach Willie Green did say he's going to get an MRI. Most likely he's not going to play today. We could probably chuck that one up to him being out. You also, in my opinion, you got to wait on the Zion news. Zion is listed as he's not listed at all, but we know that he doesn't play too many back-to-back. So I think that's something to take into consideration. So back to back for the Pelicans. Short travel, of course. Just from Orlando to Miami. Third straight road game, coming off a bad loss against Orlando last night. And you get a Miami team that's still going to be shorthanded as well. No Duncan Robinson, no Tyler Hero, no Josh Richardson, no Kevin Love. All those guys have been ruled out. But the reason why I wanted to kind of wait was I wanted to see if Bam was going to play. Bam is currently listed as questionable. He didn't play in that game against the Cleveland Cavaliers. So this Miami team coming off 1 day's rest, first game back home after a 4-game road trip, 3-point win off a 3-point dog in their last game. They actually got another game against the Cleveland Cavaliers on deck for Sunday. Head to head, this is where it gets interesting because Miami, they've actually won 9 of the last 10 games. They've covered 8 of the last 10 against this New Orleans Pelicans teams. And things got chippy earlier this season. These teams played February 23rd. Miami went into New Orleans and beat them 106-95 as a 2-point dog. CJ McCollum left that game with an injury. You had Jimmy Butler. He was kind of chirping after the game, saying that this was a soft team and that they'll beat them again the next time. So this game, I think, could be the reason why the Pelicans looked a little flat in that game yesterday, specifically on the defensive end. Like I said, head-to-head, as far as the total goes, and this is the reason why I wanted to play the game, as far as the total goes, the head-to-head matchup is 8-2 to the under in their last 10 games. You get a Miami team that's just 11-13 against the spread as a home favorite, typically a spot you don't want to buy on them. However, the Miami Heat are 9-2 straight up, 8-3 against the spread when they're a short home favorite. Just 4 points or less, they typically cover the number, at least this season. The Pelicans, unrested, of course, 5-6 straight up, 6-5 against the spread on the second leg of back-to-back games. If they're on the road in a back-to-back, they're 3-4 straight up and against the spread when they're unrested as well. So I looked into those things. Of course, without Brandon Ingram, I looked into that as well. The Pels they're still a plus 4.5 in points scored per 100 possessions without Brandon Ingram on the floor. So to me, it feels like, the Pelicans, I think that they can still score, but I do think that, rest coming into play. Also, Orlando beats you up. Like, Orlando's a really good rebounding team. I'm not playing this game until I know the status of Bam, until we ultimately find out if Zion is going to play or not going to play on the second leg of a back-to-back. But I think the Pelicans still going to bring it. I definitely think that they are. I think the best play in the game, though, but this is why I want Bam in, is I really want to get there on the under. I do think that, like I said, 207 is available on Bet365. I haven't played it yet because I want to see if Bam is going to play. Just looking at some of the advanced numbers and breaking these teams down, the Pelicans do a really good job of, stopping what Miami likes to do. And Miami does a really good job of stopping what the Pelicans like to do. The Pelicans like to get downhill, put a lot of pressure on the rim, and they struggled with that last night against the Orlando Magic. Miami's another team that does a really good job of protecting the rim. So if the Pelicans aren't making those outside shots, they could really struggle in this spot. As far as player props, without Brandon Ingram, I think we absolutely have to look at Trey Murphy. I'm not sure how I'm going to play him, but I did did write his name down because he was somebody that I wanted to reference as well. So really difficult for me to pick a side. I think the Pelicans do bring, a lot of energy and effort in this game, even though they are on the second leg of a back-to-back. But I do want to wait on the status of Zion because he could pop up on the injury report as questionable in about 5 or 6 hours. And like I said, Bam also listed as questionable and definitely want his status before playing the game. Next game, we got the Cleveland Cavaliers. They will be in Minnesota. Cavs getting 6.5 points here. And it's crazy because the injury report, it's crazy to think that you're laying 6.5 points with the Minnesota Timberwolves team that we don't know the status of Anthony Edwards. We don't know the status of Naz Reid, Rudy Gobert. We know both Rudy Gobert and Naz Reid both missed the last game. Of course, Karl-Anthony Towns remains out. Anthony Edwards, I think he'll probably play, but he is listed as questionable as well. So Cleveland will still be shorthanded. No Dean Wade, no Strus, no Evan Mobley, no Donovan Mitchell. You get them 1 day's rest. It's the first of a 2-game road trip. And they're just 4-6 straight up, 5-5 against the spread in their last 10 games. They're coming off that home loss against the Miami Heat, of course. And on the opposite side, you get a Minnesota Timberwolves team that is rested. 2 days rest for them. Second game back home. Coming off that 3-point loss against the Denver Nuggets. And they got a big game against the Golden State Warriors on Sunday as well. Now, head-to-head, this is a great spot. And I wanted to get there and back the Minnesota Timberwolves here because it is a revenge spot. And we were on Minnesota, if you guys remember, in that game a couple weeks ago. So Cleveland beat them 113-104 in overtime. That was the game where Rudy Gobert was making the little dollar signs and got the $100,000 fine. It was March 8th, so about 2 weeks ago. Cleveland was laying a point in that spot. Timberwolves were also in the second leg of a back-to-back after Ant went crazy against the Pacers the night before. And, I think he had 40 points, game-winning block on Neesmith. The Timberwolves have won 3 of the last 4 meetings, but before losing earlier like I said, on March 8th in the head-to-head about 2 weeks ago. So the total did go over in the last game. It was at 206. You see this one up to 209. Trend-wise, a couple things I looked at. Timberwolves 6-2 straight up, 4-4 against the spread when they're revenging losses, and they're playing at home this season. 6-2 to the under in that spot as well, including 4 straight under. So the Timberwolves play really good defense after you've beaten them, and they get a chance to play you in their home gym. Timberwolves also 6-3 straight up and against the spread without Karl-Anthony Towns this season. So if the Timberwolves have everybody in, this is a Timberwolves spot in my opinion. I do think that this is a good spot to back the Timberwolves. The Cavs, I don't think that you can really rely on them as much. I don't think that you can rely on this team at all, especially on the road when they don't have all those pieces. So I do think it's a Timberwolves spot. I kind of want to get there somehow, some way. Maybe a Cavs team total under. But this was a spot where I feel like I had to I need to wait. I need to see if, of course, Rudy Gobert impacts the game a lot. Naz Reid, same thing, especially when you're down Karl-Anthony Towns. So this was a game I chose to wait on, and I didn't play either. It's a lot of injury implications that makes it really, really difficult to play these games, man. So these were the other 5 games that I didn't take a deep dive into. I'll tell you guys right now, Memphis, and San Antonio, I want nothing to do with. 6.5, I'm not laying 7 points with a team that's won like 14 games this late into the season. I know Memphis got Desmond Bane listed as doubtful. I think Jared Jackson Jr. is in. Luke Kennard has already been ruled out. But I didn't take a dive into that game at all. Like watching, like trying to cap Memphis games is a headache in itself. So I just stayed away from that one. As far as the Pacers and the Golden State Warriors, you see Golden State laying 5. This total is up 239.5. I was looking at this one last night, and I like the Pacers and I like the under. Just taking a deeper dive, and I'll talk about this one a little bit later. If you guys are watching now, I will be on with Cal Kerms at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time later today, and I'll talk about this one a little bit more. But I'll tell you guys this: the Pacers have been the far better defensive team over the last 2 weeks. They also in a revenge spot. Golden State beat them 131-109 back on. When was that? Like 2 months ago, I think. Now you get them off 1 day's rest, second straight home game. Pacers do got a game in against the Lakers on Sunday, and this is the reason why the Pacers been doing that thing where they win one, then they lose one, win one, then they lose one, and they've been playing well off a loss, which is why we backed them in that last game in Detroit. But now they're coming off a 19-point win against Detroit. They're just 5-5 against the spread in their last 10, but so is Golden State, 5-5 against the spread and straight up in their last 10 as well. I think Moody is listed as questionable. Obi Toppin on the other side listed as questionable. Draymond listed as probable. Golden State, 1 day's rest, third straight home game. They got a big game, like I said, against the Minnesota Timberwolves on Sunday. Last 10 meetings have been split, both teams winning 5 games. But like I said, Golden State, they caught Indiana slipping. They were on the second leg of a back-to-back earlier this season, and they were in the 5th game in 7 nights, and they lost the Pacers lost 131-109 on February 8th. As 6-point favorites, the Pacers were. Now you see them as 5-point dogs. Golden State not in a position where they can really lose games right now, especially with Houston continuing to win. Houston got another big win last night against the Chicago Bulls, and they're only 2.5 games back for that last play-in spot, which is the 8th seed, which is the 10th seed in the Western Conference. So to me, I understand the motivation for Golden State, but I think like the Pacers, they can limit what Golden State likes to do. They're a really good 3-point defense, which is what Golden State really wants to do. And they attack the paint, and Golden State gives up a ton of points in the paint. So I kind of like the Pacers. Like I said, I'll talk about it a little bit more and give you guys the in-depth information. And I also like the under. I think 5 is a tad bit too much. I think Indiana can keep the game close, even though Golden State, needs the game. Pacers probably feel like they need the game as well. Indiana also 8-2 to the under in their last 10 games. In the last meeting that these two teams played, it was at 248.5. This one's down to 239.5. So I like the under, and I like the Indiana Pacers, but don't have either one of them in my pocket yet. The Clippers in Portland, I'm not going to jump too much ahead in that game, man, because injury-wise, you do want to wait on the status of Norman Powell. Him, Terrence Mann is listed as questionable. Of course, no Westbrook. Yeah, they did get a win in the cover. They've kind of owned Portland, 9-1 straight up, 7-3 against the spread in their last 10 games. They've won 8 straight in a row, and they've covered 2 of the 3 this season so far. So this will be the last game. Last time that these two teams see each other. I don't know what the Clippers' motivation will be. I know that they needed that one. It was a bounce back spot in the last game after they were coming off, getting smoked against the Atlanta Hawks on Sunday night. I'm not sure what their motivation is going to be in this one. The Portland side don't look good either. You got Anthony Simons listed as probable, Matisse Thybulle questionable, Jeremy Grant listed as doubtful. I don't really want anything to do with Portland. I know they were covering games a little bit, but I don't know what to do with that game. Probably a game that I'll stay away from. Not interested in betting it. And then Philly and LA. I'll talk about this one a little bit later too. Philly got Tobias listed as questionable. Of course, LeBron's always listed as questionable. It looks like Cam Reddish and AD are listed as probable. Still no Gabe Vincent, no Christian Wood, no Jared Vanderbilt as well. You get a Philly team coming off 1 day's rest, second straight road game of a 4-game road trip. They lost by 13 against Phoenix just 2 nights ago. 4-6 straight up, 4-5-1 against the spread in their last 10. For the Lakers, 3 days of rest. This is I got to dive into it a little bit more, but I love that the Lakers do have 3 days rest. This is a third straight home game over 4-game homestand. They got the Pacers coming in on Sunday. They're 6-4 straight up, 5-5 against the spread in their last 10. The number did come down. I saw this number at 9, and now I see it down to 7.5 on some books as well. So money coming in on Philly. Philly has dominated the Lakers. They've crushed my Lakers recently, but a lot of those games, of course, had Joel Embiid in them. Philly, they've won 9 of the last 10 against the Lakers. They've covered 7 of the last 10 against the Lakers as well. So I'm not sure, man. You got Bron making podcasts with JJ Redick. I don't know how locked in this team's going to be, man. But like I said, I'll dive a little bit deeper into it and let you guys know what I'm looking at for sure. I'll let you guys know what I'm looking at for sure. Like I said, I potentially probably doing an evening show, but I know I'm doing a show with Kyle Kerms, like I said, at 5 p.m., at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So these were the top, with 3 looks now. I mentioned the Detroit team total under as well. I like the unders today, man. Toronto, just because they failed to crack 102 games in a row, I think that they can still struggle. They like to get out and push the pace. They're playing against another elite defense that does a good job of limiting transition buckets. And, I mean, really, if you go through and look at their starting lineup, they don't have a lot of guys out there that's going to be able to score the ball. So Toronto team total under again, numbers 107.5. New Orleans and Miami, I want to wait on Bam, and I also want to wait on Zion before I play that. So none of these have been played yet. And that Detroit team total under 105.5. They failed to score 103 points. They scored 103 points against a Pacers team that's nowhere near on the same stratosphere as this Boston Celtics team. But you do kind of want to wait to see who Boston trots out there. So those are the ways that I'm looking to play the games for today. The last 4 or 5 that you guys saw was the ones that I didn't do a deep dive into. But I'll take a deeper dive and see if I'm liking anything from those games, man. Best of luck to everybody today on all your action. Catch the comments offline. All the resources that I'm using to handicap the games are here. It's 900 people watching live right now. Do me a favor, hit the like button for me. Share the show if you guys can, especially if you found it helpful. And I'll catch you guys in the next one, man. Best of luck on all your action. Bet responsibly. Enjoy March Madness. And I'll catch you guys at 4 p.m. Like I said, I'll be on with my guy Kyle Den on his channel. I'm out.